Good job.
Only the most important poster in the entire universe. Huh? John, it was in there. His mom's collection of memorabilia. Pretty amazing. What? Back between cold and hot.
Stupid that way. Stupid. Oh.
Stupid illness, stupid illness.
Yes. Hopefully I got some students to talk to. I will check momentarily. Because it was 9 just a minute ago. Hold up. Need socks. Oh, a few people here. Hello. Just 1 second. What time is it? We'll give it just a couple minutes just to make sure, see if somebody else comes. Did you have your crunchies? You eat your crunchies, baby girl? Chris, did you give her crunchies? Hold on. Did you give her crunchies yet?
No.
Hi, Lucy.
Crunchies for the whole.
More people are here. Give it just like 3-4 minutes. Okay, guys. Wanna go potty, Lou? Come on, baby. Mm. All right. So before I begin and just sort of give it just another minute, does anybody have any questions or anything like that? Sorry, my ring. Before we start. Let's see if there's any texts. Nope. Okay, hopefully you saw two of the quizzes were released. And again, just take them at your leisure. Remember to take both attempts because you get two. And just take them sometime before the final because they'll help you with the final. Let's see, where were we? System. Okay, electoral quotas, that's right. All right, oops. I'm just adjusting the way I can see you guys right now on my screen. I don't know if you can see that. Hold on. All right. Okay. So we're just gonna finish off this chapter. How many? Yeah, I think we should finish it. We're not doing all of these things. We're just gonna wait. Where to go? There it is. We're gonna finish off this chapter today, and then we'll go on to another chapter on Wednesday. Okay, so this part isn't particularly fun, but it is what it is. Okay, so electoral formulas, quotas and divisors. So when you have a PR system, they're either going to employ quotas or divisors to determine how much the party wins, right? So in a quota system, that guarantees a party a seat in a particular electoral district. Okay, so that means that they will definitely be getting a seat in that particular district. Okay. So these are examples, the hair quota, valid votes, seats, examples in Benin, Liechtenstein, Colombia, very pretty, Brazil and Peru. And then you have the droop quota, which is valid votes over seats. And examples are Slovakia and Luxembourg. Okay, there are others such as the Imperiale quota and the Hackenbach, Bischoff, okay, and the reinforced Imperiale quota. But we're just gonna take a look at these two. So the hair quota, imagine, this is the example they give you, that there's going to be 100,000 voters in a specific district and they're going to be electing 10 members. Okay, so when what you do is to create that quota, you do 100,000 divided by 10, and that gives you 10,000, right? So each party wins a seat for every 10,000 votes that it wins. Okay, so long as it meets that threshold, then they're going to be guaranteed at least one seat. Okay. So these are just some examples based on the hair quota. Party A gets 47,000 seats. So the quota obviously is going to be 4.7, right? You can kind of do that in your head. So they're going to get 4 seats. Okay. Party B gets 16,000 votes. Again, that's 1.6. You could do that in your head. You don't even have to think about it, right? They're going to get an automatic 1 seat. Okay, and so on down the list, okay, for a total of 100,000, with the quota being 10,000, okay, and the automatic seats will be 7, and then there'll be 3 remainder seats that will be allocated, okay. So electoral formulas, quotas, okay, there's going to be multiple ways that you can allocate those extra seats, okay. The largest remainder method, that's done in like Colombia and Costa Rica, Honduras. Okay, there's the highest average method, which is done in Brazil, and the modified highest average, which is done in Luxembourg. So what they would do is like this. So it's the same initially, like with the hair quota, right? But then there's a remainder of 0.7. Okay, so they get the 1 seat. This is a remainder of 0.6. They get 1 seat, okay? This is 0.58, 0.2, 0.6. So once they reach over that, like 60%, okay, they'll get the extra seat. Okay, so it's the largest remainders. So the top 3 in this instance, okay, were over 60%. So they took the remaining seats. All right, does that make sense? So the ones, there were 3 seats to allocate. So the ones that had the most were the ones remaining, were the ones that got the 3 allocated seats. Okay. So there's the hair quota with the highest average remainders. So there's party A, right? 4.74, right? Votes, automatic seats. That's the votes that translates in automatic seats, right? So that's 11,750. Okay. So the remaining seats, they really don't have any, so they get 4. Okay. This is 16,000 remaining seats. They will get the 1. Okay. Then here with party C, they get 1 automatic seat. Okay. And they had the, what was it? The 5,800,000 over, right? So they get the 1 seat. Okay. Party D, 1.2, they had 2,000 over, so they get the 1 seat. All right, and these ones didn't rank. Okay, so it was what's the highest average over were the ones that got it. All PR systems, they either employ quotas or divisors, okay, to determine how many the party wins. A divisor, or the highest average system, divides the total number of votes won by each party in a district by a series of numbers or divisors to obtain those quotants. And the district seats are then allocated according to which party has the highest quotants. Okay, so this is like the haunt, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. Finland, blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm just going to skip this for now. you can look at this later if you're interested, and you won't be tested on it. I just don't want to get into this much detail with you guys. So anyway, electoral formulas. Where was I? Was this the one I was looking at? Proportional electoral hair drop. Right. So this works on proportionality, right? So this is the one with the most proportional, right? And the Imperiale HA is the least proportional, okay? However, there's another thing to think about too, and that's going to be the district magnitude. There's a key variable for determining the proportionality of an electoral system in that particular case. The district magnitude is the number of representatives in a district, right? So remember we talked about that previously, where unlike in a single member district, you'll have a district that's made with larger boundaries, and you'll have multiple people within that district representing the district, right, from multiple parties, okay? So the larger the district magnitude, the greater degree of proportionality, right? So in other words, the more representatives you have in that district, the more likely it is to be greater proportional. Okay, so although PR systems, they use multi-member districts, the average size can vary quite a lot. So you'll have some that might have just a couple of people in a district, and then you'll have other ones where it's like practically the whole country is the district, okay? And so you'll have something like 150 in these, all right? Like in Netherlands and Slovakia. So proportional systems, they have an electoral threshold that will sort of be the main sort of stipulation for the minimum percentage of votes that the party must win in order to gain representation. Okay, so you're either going to have a formal one that is imposed legally, okay, or you're going to have a natural threshold that's a mathematical property, okay, that exists based on the electoral system, and we'll talk more about that in a second. So when the electoral threshold is high, electoral proportionality is low, okay? So natural threshold. So since, for example, there's only one district in the Netherlands, like I talked about a minute ago, right? The natural threshold is 67% of the votes, okay? That is 100% divided by 150 legislative seats, okay? So what happens is that 0.67 of the votes, right, because you're going on a like 0 to 1 scale, right, are divided between the 150 legislative votes, okay? So formal or legal threshold, Germany, they require that parties are going to win that like a 5% threshold. Russia does the same thing. Some other countries do the same thing. They'll have like maybe a 10% threshold, or sometimes it's lower, and that's not good, like a 3% threshold, okay, that they have to win in order to get some seat in the parliament, right? Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Turkey has a higher one, right, with 10%. Poland has 5%, okay, threshold, but then they ultimately have to meet an 8% for coalitions, right, in order to form together into coalitions. So let's see, these formal thresholds, they're often introduced for an attempt to reduce legislative fragmentation, right? So because you don't want a situation where you have too many parties to try to choose from, right? So that will break up into multiple factions and, across the spectrum and all this kind of stuff. So 5% of the threshold in Germany was largely a response to the fractious and unstable party system of the Weimar in the interwar period, like the antebellum period. So, like, you know, um, Germany during that time period was just really, it was, I guess, kind of interesting in that, people wanted to be part of the political process, but there were too many parties. Um, and so they actually, it's kind of ironic, given what ultimately happened in relation to Hitler. Pardon me, I'm really not feeling well. Um, but it's really interesting because during that antebellum period, when they were like creating the Weimar, right, which it ended up being one of, even though it was sort of precarious, they wrote this incredible democratic constitution. They created, when we talked about before about institutions, right? The institutions that they created were like near perfect, right? They were highly functioning. They were doing a good job, but the problem was just that, after World War One, Germany was just so, wrought with problems related to um, the reparations that they had to pay and all of that. They were just too heavy. It was really difficult for them to try to sort of overcome that, right? But from an empirical standpoint, the institutions that they created were really great. The only problem was that they almost worked too well, in that it allowed somebody like Hitler to take power, right? So it's like you um you know he had gotten so much popularity because he was speaking in populist tones, and was talking about how Germany had been humiliated on the world stage, and that I mean, like, literally, his idea, and he said this, was to make Germany great again. It's just kind of funny. And like, when he was campaigning for chancellor, he would, not chancellor, but what can I think? The equivalent of president. Um, uh, anyway, he would, um, fly in on airplanes, right, into airplane hangars, and people would come meet him and, just thought he was the greatest thing ever. And, um, the Kaiser just ended up having to sort of bow to him during, that emergency sort of situation where he needed a chancellor, and at the time the chancellor was an appointed position. And so, he's like, well, you know, did come in second place, and, maybe we should just give him a chance. Maybe he doesn't really mean all the things that he says, you know. And
A
he's,
quick question about
yeah.
that actually. So like when like Hitler was going to power, was the whole thing with like the Jews and all that, like do you think he was planning that the whole time, or did that come about later? Like was he just trying to be a leader first and then that happened, or was he like planning that the whole time?
No, I mean, the whole time, from the beginning, right? I mean, if you think about like Kristallnacht, right, and all of
Yeah,
that,
that's true. Yeah.
right, like the whole time there was a systematic, and rounding up of the Jews and putting them into ghettos. And, I mean, if you read Mein Kampf, it was very clear that, he wanted to exterminate, right? He would use this language, right? The Jews from the particularly the German land, but ultimately the world.
Yeah.
Right. Go ahead. You're cutting
He,
out.
he, he had it out like from the beginning for them. He just
Right.
like
Oh
he had
yeah.
it out for them like from the beginning, I guess.
Right. Right. It's difficult to get your hands on a copy of Mein Kampf, and I don't know that I'd necessarily recommend it. But it, it was funny because I don't know if I talked about this in class before, but you know, Winston Churchill, right? At the time, he was just a PM, right, in Parliament, and you know, Chamberlain was an MP, not a PM. He was an MP, and Winston Chamberlain was the PM, right, the Prime Minister, and Chamberlain famously kept like capitulating when he got power, and um, when he started taking over, little bits of land here and there, right? And Chamberlain be like, "Oh, that Hitler, you just gotta stop." you know, you just stop it right now, and Hitler be like, "Okay," right? But then he'd go and do it. Like he would
Right.
immediately, And so Winston Churchill kept like jumping up and down in Parliament, like literally, like jumping up and down, saying, "Haven't you read Mein Kampf? Haven't you read the book, his book, in his own words? He is doing exactly what he said is wanted to do, what his plans were, right? And it's all there, right? Now, he tried to claim later, right, that it wasn't really his intention, just like he, with the Jews. But he said the same thing about taking over, and reclaiming, the Rhineland and all of this to recreate, the uh, historical Germanic speaking peoples, right, to get them together into the, historical lands, you know, um,
Right.
of Germania, basically, right? And he would try to just deny it the whole time. But if you read Mein Kampf, it's quite clear, right? And he would try to say, I just, other people came up with these ideas, right? Um, because you can't find anything where he specifically, other than Mein Kampf, right, said, "This is my idea, you go do it," right? What ended up happening was you have like Himmler and people like that. Like Himmler was the one who came up with the final solution, right? But by
Yeah.
that point, we already had the concentration camps and people were being worked to death, and some were being gassed and stuff like that. Well, they just started speeding that up with the final solution, but that
Right.
was already it's one of those things where like Hitler was the king of, I don't know if you remember Canterbury Tales from high school, if you had to read that.
Vaguely.
Well, there's this one part where this nobleman guy, or the king, I think, says, "Ah, well, nobody rid me of this meddlesome priest," right? And it's like, and of course somebody goes and kills the priest, right? And it's like, and he was like, "I didn't tell anybody to do that. I was just making an exclamation."
Oh
Right?
yeah, 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 yeah.
And like, so Hitler was very much like that, and like Putin's the same way. A lot of Stalin, a lot of uh, dictators and tyrants are very much like that. They won't say something directly, right? At least in a public sphere where it's trackable or anything, right? And then, people that are close to them know exactly what they mean, and they
Right,
go,
right. They kind of just like
they take it as
jest
a
it,
directive.
and yeah, the extremists kind of like take it to the next level.
right. They take it, they take it as a directive, right?
Yeah.
Um, and of course, if Hitler didn't mean that, he could have stopped it at any time. But it's quite clear that through the series of its escalation, right? It starts first as, you know, um, othering the Jews, calling them vermin and calling them, you know, blah, 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 you know, all of these things through propaganda. Like if you look at the propaganda that, you know, the Nazi Party was putting out even before he came into power. And then as he gained power, got more, right? And then Kristallnacht, right? And then just all of the, it's an escalation. It starts first through demonizing language, and then it slowly escalated and then quickly escalated, right? It was like a cascade. Um, so that's typically the way that these sort of things work historically, and it definitely did in this particular case. So, um, you know, initially he did let some Jews leave Germany, right? But it was like, you know, those that stayed were put into ghettos, you know. So, and if he really
Right.
didn't,
Right.
you know, and if his intention really wasn't to kill world Jewry, right? To use their language, you know, um, or whatever, then he um, uh, would have just kept letting people leave. Do you know what I mean? He decided that his whole goal was world domination, you know, so that was the other aspect of it too, you know, so it's just, I don't know. But anyway, any other thoughts about that?
No, I mean that's pretty much that kind of makes sense. I mean,
Right.
yeah.
Right. So this is like, so there's this guy who's like a sociologist, uh, Karl Popper, who occasionally gets mentioned in here, right? And he was a Jew who escaped all of this, like he was a kid at the time, right? And he was never in the concentration camps because his family, like, or somehow, like, he was able to flee. But anyway, uh, he talks about um, the paradox of tolerance, right? That you can't, that it seems paradoxical for a tolerant society to not tolerate the intolerant, right? Um, like people that are like Nazis or like the KKK or stuff like that, and that you should always let them have free speech and etc. Right? He says that uh, that you can't do that, especially to a certain point, when their goal is the extermination of the other, right? And he uses Hitler and Nazi Germany as the example. He's like, you know, this is the example of what happens when you allow the normalization of intolerance, right? Because then other people see it in society and that it's not being shut up and not being put down, you know, and so it becomes normal, right? And then the movement grows, right?
Right. And he like essentially made like the law too, like after a while. So it just became
Right,
like the normal
right,
thing. Yeah.
exactly. It became legal, right?
Yeah.
So he talks about that a society, an open society, as he calls it, right? His book is called Enemy. What is it, like Enemies of the Open Society, or something like this. I don't know why I'm forgetting right now. Probably because I'm not feeling well, but I have it in the other room. Open Society and its Enemies, or something like this, right? Anyway, so he talks about how, like, what happens is that in an open society, which is a democracy essentially, right, that, you know, you have to put those people down. You have to make them, what he says, outside the law. He says that they should be outside the law, um, like they are in Germany, essentially, though they've kind of let up on that somewhat, and they're starting to regret that now. But those types of people should be outside the law because they're detrimental to democracy itself, because they can ultimately take over, right? If
Mhm.
given the chance, right? Um, so anyway, um, so side effects of these thresholds. Um, so let me get back into my mindset here. Let's see. Right. Okay. So in Turkey, in the 2002 elections, there were so many parties, and they didn't pass that 10% threshold. Um, so what happened was that almost nearing a majority, not a majority, like 46%, right, failed to be used. Essentially, they were wasted, right? So 46% of the population, their vote ended up being sort of in a way disenfranchised, right? Because they were never seen in the outcome as far as having somebody that they voted for elected, right? Um, so some would argue that perhaps maybe the 10% threshold is a little high. Um, in the Polish legislative elections of 1993, 34% were wasted because of that 5% threshold. But that was because there were so many parties. What was it, like about 100 or something like crazy like that, right? There were just so many parties. And this is when party plurality becomes um, like to the extreme, right? You have just too many parties. When you have too many parties, even a low threshold like 5% becomes very difficult to surpass. Okay. So that's how you ended up with 34% wasted. Okay. And they had that 8% threshold for coalitions. Okay. So even with that, creating some sort of a coalition, okay, 34% of the vote ended up being wasted. So, and these votes were crucial in allowing former communists to return to power, right? So people who were in the communist system before, right, that were running for office, um, this ultimately allowed them to regain power. Okay. So, oops. So then you have a closed party list. Okay, so these are the different types of party lists. And the order of the candidates is determined by the party itself, and voters are not able to express a preference for a particular candidate, right? So this is where you're basically essentially voting for the party, right? And I've kind of talked about that a little bit already. You'll have an open party list in other circumstances, and voters can indicate not just their preferred party, but also their preferred candidate within the party. So what you can do is you can select, say, in England, the Tories, you can say, I like this person more than, some of these other people, right? Or Labor, I like that person more than some other people, okay? So, I didn't mean to do that. Why is it doing that? In a free party list, voters can have multiple votes, and they can allocate either within a single party list or across different party lines. So what you can do is you can choose either with ranked choice voting or whatever within the party, or you can say, I like this person first in this party, this person second in that party, right? This person third in that party, or whatever, however it is that you prefer. Okay. So the closed party list, the electoral formula is going to depend upon how many seats the party wins. So they first they got to win, right? So they got to win first, and then it'll depend upon how much of the vote that they win, as far as what seats are allocated to them and who ends up getting those seats. So in the closed list system, these party seats are allocated according to the order of the party list. So the party will have their own preference, right, of who gets seats first. And it's usually based on some sort of seniority system, right? So they say, okay, we, have this many people that are available, right? But we only, say we have 50 people that are available, but we only won, 20. So it goes to the top 20 people that they prefer. Okay, but remember, because you're in the party system and you're not necessarily going out for yourself, right? You have to make sure that you're doing things for the party, right? And that you are voting along party lines, that you're showing up for party votes, especially very, very important votes, not doing so in a parliamentary party system like this can see you literally knocked down on these types of lists. Sometimes they'll kick you out of the party, right? If it's a consistent problem. So in that instance, at the same time, you can have a situation where there'll be newer people that are consistently, toting the party line. They show to seem promise. They seem to be very charismatic and people seem to like them. They could move up the party list faster than some other people might. Okay. So it sort of depends on the party, the country, etc. So just keep that in mind too. So this is a closed PR ballot. You see, what they do is they might put their preferred candidate. I think I talked about this before too. Their preferred candidate for either president, vice president, or if it's prime minister, whatever the main, person is, right, in that government. They might say, hey, these are our preferred candidates for that particular seat. Now, remember, they don't, if something were to happen, they might end up, say, having this person for president and then somebody else for vice president, or, it could be something different, right? But typically, we'll say these are our preferred candidates. But as far as for every other seat, you won't have any idea. You might kind of have a general idea, but you may not. Okay. So usually you won't. South African closed PR ballot. This is the what it looks like. It gives you the symbol for the party, the abbreviation, and then a picture of who they prefer for their head of government. So open party PR or party list, again, that's going to, determine how many seats are allocated, right? So in this system, it depends on whoever gets the most votes, right? So if a party wins 10 seats, then the top 10 winners are selected, right? So it's kind of what I talked about a minute ago. So this is what it looks like, right? This was in Germany in 1990. So this is for the Social Democratic Party. This is for the Conservative Party. This is for the Central Democrats. Oh, this is Denmark. I'm sorry, not Germany. I wish I could remember what this party is. I don't speak Danish. Anyway, so they give you the name of the party and they'll say, these are our top choices. Who do you prefer? Right. And then you would just sort of like rank choice vote them. Okay, or no, not ranked choice vote. You just pick the one you want, right? So free party list. Free party list. Oh wait, no, you do rank choice vote. So free party list, this one, you again can rank choice vote between the different parties. Okay. So it's PANA change, okay, is the ability to vote for candidates from different party lists. Okay, so the accumulation is the capacity to give more than one vote to a single candidate. The electoral formula is going to, again, depend upon how much that party wins. So if they win the most seats by vote, then they're going to, you're a dork, then they're going to, my husband brought me Lenin just to be a goofball. So if that party wins the most, then they're going to get obviously the most seats. Okay. So, and then the candidates in that party those votes are allocated based on who gets the most, okay, of the specific candidates. Okay. Countries with closed list systems, they're going to have higher party discipline. So like what I was talking about earlier, you know, you want to ensure that you're doing following party lines, showing up for votes, you know, succeeding in elections, you know, representing the party well, not having scandals and, you know, stuff like that. Because it's the party who determines who will win and be allocated seats based on percentage of vote, right? Countries with open list systems have lower levels of party discipline, okay? Because again, people have the opportunity to vote for specific candidates, right? And so that's going to lead towards greater fractionalization, okay? Which is the downside of it. So then you have the single transferable vote. That's known as the STV system. So the only proportional system that does not employ party list is this one. Okay, and this STV vote is a preferential candidate-centered PR system used in multi-member districts. So this is kind of like what like Ireland and Malta use. Candidates that surpass a specified quota of the first preference votes, they're immediately going to be elected. Okay, but then in successive counts, votes from those eliminated candidates and surplus are going to be votes from the eliminated candidates. I'm sorry. Votes from eliminated candidates and surplus votes from elected candidates are reallocated to the remaining candidates, okay, until seats are filled. So they just keep taking those candidates, the lower candidates, they shuck them off, right? And then they take their votes and then they reallocate them to the, you know, to 2, 3, 4, whatever, okay? And they keep doing that until seats are filled. So I'm not gonna do this with you guys. You don't need to worry about this. You can just look at it if you're interested. Mixed electoral systems. Hi, sorry about that. Let me go back to share screen, desktop, share. Okay. Move my thing. Come on, move. Okay. Mixed electoral systems, that's where the voters are going to select the representatives through 2 systems, one majoritarian and one proportional. We've sort of talked about this a little bit already. Russia uses this system-ish. Okay, so an electoral tier that's where votes, they're translated into seats. Okay, so you have the lowest electoral tier is going to be the district level. Okay, higher tiers are constituted by grouping together lower tier constituencies, and that's regional or national, right? So, for example, you'll have kind of like how we have here, like a state legislature or something similar, right? In Russia, they have like regional dumas, right? Which is the same, it's the exact same thing, okay? It's a conglomerate of single member districts, right? Like how we have here in Florida, right? And then you have the state legislature, right? And different people are elected to those districts, right? So many mixed electoral systems, they have multiple electoral tiers with majoritarian formulas and a lower tier and proportional formulas and a higher tier. That would be the mixed system, okay? So there's going to be two types. Oops. You have the independent mixed system is one where you have the application of one electoral formula and it doesn't depend on the outcome of the other. Okay, so you've just got the one and you don't worry about the PR or whatever. Okay, so example, Ukraine selected half of its legislatures in 1998 and in 2002 using the single member district system, okay, at the constituency level, and the other half using PR systems. So what they do is they just allocate, okay, these many are going to be selected through the single member district, and then the rest are going to be allocated based on PR. So however many, the parties win at the constituency level, there'll be a PR amount allocated in the remaining, right? So if, a conservative party wins, 33% of the vote, then they're going to get 33% in the remaining PR allocated seats, if that makes sense. Okay. And so, again, this is sort of what it looks like. You can look at this a little bit later. Didn't I just say this? Two types of a dependent mixed system, okay, is one in which application of one electoral formula is dependent on the distribution of seats or votes by the majoritarian formula. Okay, so basically what it looks like is that in these systems, the proportional component of electoral system is used to compensate for any disproportionality produced in the majoritarian formula at the constituency level. Okay, so in most dependent systems, you're going to have individuals are going to have two votes. Okay, they have the first vote, and that one is for the representative at the district level, and they're going to have another vote that is for a party list at the higher level. Okay, examples of this are like Germany and New Zealand. Okay, so that's how they're sort of dependent on the same vote. I mean, it's two votes, but you know what I mean in the single member district voting. So two issues are going to come up with dependent mixed systems. Some candidates, they will compete for those constituency seats, but they're also going to be placed on the party list, because what if they don't make it in the constituency, right? So they still would want to get a seat, right? Some parties win more constituency seats than is justified by their party vote list. Okay, so some people, some situations you're going to have, lots of these individual candidates in these, districts, right? But overall, their party vote list is going to be lower, right? So fewer people might be voting for across the country, might be voting for that particular party. Okay, so they might be getting lots of votes in this constituency or lots of votes in this constituency or whatever, Okay. And as a result, end up with, more, um, me, what am I trying to say? More PMs or whatever, right? In specific districts or wherever, right? But as a country, on the whole, across the country, okay, the party is getting fewer seats. Okay, so this leads to what's called overhanging seats. And this is an example of these overhang seats. You've got Party A in constituency 1. They won 3,000. Constituency 2, they won 3,000. Constituency 3, blah, 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 right? The national district, they won 15,000, which is 40% of the vote. Single member districts, they got 5 people. List PR, they end up with 0 for a total of 5. Okay. Party B, you get 2,250 seats, blah, 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 right? National district, they get um, 11,250 for 30% of the vote. Single member districts, they end up with 0 seats, but 3 at the list PR level. Okay, because they didn't make it in the electoral districts, across these electoral districts, right? And then here you see the same thing, right? This total 30%, they didn't make it in the single member district, and then you get 3 in the list PR for a total of 3, right? Um, and so you'll see lots of um, vote and representation for this particular party at that constituency level, but you're not going to see it at the PR level, right? Whereas here, you don't see it at the constituency level, but you have it at the national sort of PR level, right? Um, so you have a total of 6 list PR, 5 SMDP, single member district parties, right? And then you have for a total of 11, right? So you can see how it's disproportionate in this particular situation. And that's just another example, right? And these are just the different electoral systems in 177 countries. In 2004, you have 41 single member districts. You have single non-transferable votes, 3, for example. I'm just looking at them randomly. List PR had 65. You have 22 independent and 11 dependent systems. Okay. And then Freedom House looks at these different electoral systems in 2004. And what we notice is that not free, you have, this sort of bit of the pie. What is that? Like maybe 1/6 of the pie, about, right? Is proportional. Mixed is a little bit maybe more than that. And then, I don't know, a little bit more than 2/3 here. Okay. I'm just guessing. In countries that are partially free, we see, larger proportionality with less majoritarian. And we see in free countries, proportional representation is at least half. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know what's going on with Zoom today. Hold on. What happened? Can you see my screen? Share. All right. Put you up here. Oh, we see, and I've talked about this before, in the free countries, proportional representation tends to do better, right? You have, maybe 40, 35-ish percent in this particular year, majoritarian, and then some remaining amount mixed, right? 25%-ish, no, 15%. is it? I can't do math right now. 15%. And again, that's because we talked about in previous chapters that when you have a presidential system, you run the risk of imbuing too much power in the executive, right? And you know, that could become problems, that you are more likely to tend towards possible tyranny than you are in proportional systems, because the executive has significantly less power in proportional representation systems, because those tend to be parliamentary systems, or always are parliamentary systems. And in parliamentary systems, again, because there's less power imbued in the executive, right, you have less risk of tyranny, because you have multiple layers, you know, where you can oust a somebody who's becoming tyrannical or whatever, right? You have vote of no confidence in the parliament. You also have, for example, the head of state, which is usually a sort of figurehead position, right? Which could be a president in some countries, or it might be like a monarchy or something like that, a monarch. They can recall that person and like just take their power away, right? In times of emergency, if that person, again, seems to be either unstable or seems to be moving the country in a more tyrannical direction, right? So there's these multiple layers. Um, uh, and voting no confidence in a parliament needs like 50% plus one, right? So it's much, you have a situation in that case where the executive is more dependent on the parliament than say a president is in a presidential system, because in presidential systems it's much harder to remove the president, as we have just seen, right, than it is to remove a PM in a parliamentary system. Okay. But anyway, so that's why countries that are, you know, dictatorships prefer presidential type systems, for example. I mean, if they're picking one of those, presidential or parliamentary, right? So anyway, what was I going to say? I guess that's it. Does anybody have any other questions? For now? No questions? Hi, Aubrey and Jacob, Nicholas, Robert, Yash.
So the two quizzes, you uploaded two quizzes?
Yeah, two or
Okay.
I think I uploaded 2 or 3.
And then which, those are like from like each chapters, right?
Yeah, and
Okay.
just again, just do them whenever. I'm gonna upload some more over the next few days, like one from my Perestroika, the movie. I'm gonna upload one for this chapter, and I think that should be caught up by that point. I think so. Maybe one other. I think that's it. Wait, because I did cultural determinants of democracy. I did authoritarian institutions. I don't remember if I uploaded the one for democratic transitions. So the one for democratic transitions really has 2. There's one for the chapter and one for the movie. Okay. And then I'll probably hold off on uploading this one. Do that at like the end of the week. So maybe on Wednesday I'll do the one for my perestroika or something, or not my perestroika, democratic transition, whichever one I'm missing. And then I'll do this chapter next. And then we're going to go on to, let me look here, calendar. So then what I think I'm going to do is cover an outside chapter about globalization and the markets. And then that'll be it, if I can get to it.
Okay.
And yeah, I think that's it. So if you, again, paper optional if you feel like you need it. And I don't know, I guess that's it. Any other questions? Nope. Oh, hold on. No, ma'am. Okay, thank you, Aubrey. Okay. If you do have any questions or you think of anything, just feel free to email me. I'm always willing to set up a appointment via Skype or whatever and chat with you if you have any questions. Just let me know, okay? See you later. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
No
you.
problem. You're welcome. Have a good day.